Hornswoggle, his name's Dylan Postl. He's, I think that's how you pronounce his last name. He's a wrestler from WWE. He is a dwarf, or as they, what did the person in the article say?
A person with dwarfism. Excuse you, Brett.
Yes, and he was openly very critical of the comments that Peter Dinklage made, which basically got all of the dwarves canceled from the Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs movie.
I thought you were just gonna end the sentence there.
No.
It got all the dwarves canceled
from the Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs.
Here's what Peter Dinklage said, in case anyone forgot. He said, "You're about the Snow White adaptation. You're progressive in one way, casting a non-white Snow White, but you're still making that effing backwards story of 7 dwarves living in a cave. What the F are you doing, man? Have I done nothing to advance the cause from my soapbox? I guess I'm not loud enough." They were so proud of that, and all love and respect to the actress and the people who thought they were doing the right thing, but I'm just like, what are you doing? And then he said that he would be good with a cool progressive spin put on Snow White, and he would have been all in if it weren't for them using dwarves. And then Disney immediately caved to his demands.
You know what it is? Maybe the idea is that he wanted to be the prince, so it would have been very, very progressive if you don't make.
Didn't get it.
There's no dwarves. Maybe they make 7 like really good-looking dwarves,
like,
but they're full-size people.
The idea that I don't know exactly how to articulate this without sounding mean, but like the idea that people with dwarfism.
There's a $20 super chat there from Disco Jensen with no message. Thank you, my friend.
The idea that they should be cast in movies in ways that totally ignore their stature is stupid. Like, someone with dwarfism is not going to get cast as Jack Reacher. I'm sorry, that's not a milestone of progressivism that we're going to reach.
They did.
Tom Cruise is pretty short.
That's insanity. That's Emperor's Clothes level insanity.
Tom Cruise is like 5'6". It's like
Peter Dinklage is not going to be the star of a franchise like Mission Impossible. It's not a thing. Okay.
I wish that would happen.
You can try. I'm just saying it hasn't happened so far. And we're not just gonna watch a movie and act like this person is of normal stature, playing a normal role. Like, if it has to do with the action in a movie, that's relevant when they're casting. So it's not discriminatory.
It's really, I have to look up her, but there was a show, there was a really bad remake of MacGyver.
Why don't I remember that?
I loved it, but I understand why everybody hates. It's not nearly as good as the original, but it was dumb action on network television. It's not good, but it did exist, and it had Meredith Eaton in it as like a department head of a covert agency. And Meredith Eaton is a very talented actress with dwarfism, and it's like they're portraying her as like this tough-nosed lady, and it's just great because they actually, in a lot of ways, they don't work around her height. Like they have scenes where George Eads will just lean down to talk to her, right? Where in a lot of ways, like with Tom Cruise, they block the shot differently. So it's like, why is Val Kilmer sitting in a time when he wouldn't normally sit? Why is, like they frame it in a certain way to hide his height, but instead they use the fact that she's small to their advantage in the show, because it doesn't always work. But the idea is that she portrays somebody that's formidable, even though she's very much not a formidable looking person. Also, they did that with Linda Hunt, who I believe is under 5 feet, when she was on one of the NCIS at 4'9". She's 4'9", so they call her like they make her out to be like she was a spy back in the day and stuff like that. So it can be done by Hollywood, and they've tried to be progressive before, but back then when they were doing it, it wasn't done constantly and it wasn't shoved in your face. But I digress. We're talking about
Dylan Postl went on Piers Morgan Uncensored and debated a guy who thinks that it's a big progressive win that all of these potential roles for actors with dwarfism got replaced. So let's watch this clip, at least. We can't show the whole thing.
The one where it says the magical creatures.
They started talking about, it's the one on Twitter. They started talking about the fact that Hugh Grant actually got the role of an Oompa Loompa in the Willy Wonka movie.
Here we go.
What?
You're the funny little man who's been followed.
Now, they use CGI there, Dylan, to effectively make him into an Oompa Loompa dwarf.
So now,
what do you feel about that?
Yes, sir. So now we're not only...
Hold on. We will wait. I'll take a third crisis party if anybody wants to give a third crisis party for the Burts.
Thank you. For me.
Yes.
My mom has been in the chat.
Has
so
she?
she has been in the chat off and on. So
I want a third crisis party for Bert's mom.
I want a third crisis party for my
Bert's
mom.
mom.
Shout out to my mom.
just arrived as well. And
Did she really? No
yeah,
way.
she was sending me pictures of my cat.
That's
and,
so cool.
I was like, hey, check this out.
Awesome. Did you tell your mom you're going to be on?
No.
It's just
Till just now.
I think my mom saw my Instagram story. I don't know.
okay. All right, let's listen to this clip here really quick. And hello, Carter and Bert's mom. Moms. Hello, ladies. Here we go.
Extra money and funding for these movies when we could just cast dwarves in that role. Whether it be one dwarf or multiple, that like they have been in the past. Now you're taking at least one role away or multiple roles away for Oompa Loompa characters. That's what they were in the past. And why, again, I go back to my stance on these roles in Hollywood in general are very hard for people of my community to get, besides the elf and the leprechaun and this and that. So why are they being taken from my community?
I mean, the Leprechaun is a masterpiece, so everyone should go see the Leprechaun.
Are they remaking Charlie and the Chocolate Factory again?
Yes.
Yes.
Willy Wonka. No, they're doing a Willy Wonka origin story.
Oh, okay.
Timothy Chalamet.
Timothy Chalamet. So, look, you have to watch this whole video where this guy, he's insufferable, and he's basically saying, like, I agree with you, but I disagree with you at the same time.
Well, no,
because
what
he's not
he was
allowed to
saying
question
is
it.
everything that that Dylan Postl was saying, he would agree with it because he's part of the so-called oppressed class. But if Piers Morgan agreed with Dylan Postl on anything, he would say, oh, no, but I disagree with you.
Yep.
Because he's not oppressed. So everything he would say would discredit them, both.
It's very, very weird because of all the things to do, why would they? Well, like, I can understand maybe I disagree with Dinklage's interpretation of the story, but if that's the idea, if the idea is to make the characters more involved, they could have done that. They could have made the characters more involved in the actual story, kept them, and made it an extremely progressive story, rather than just getting rid of them entirely, which not only erases them from job opportunities. He also points out in another clip, he goes, it's not just the actors, it's seven separate actors. It's their stunt doubles, because they would have different actors doing stunt scenes.
Which usually
for them.
would probably mean that actors with dwarfism have to do their own stunts.
I don't know if they have.
It's difficult to find stunt doubles for them.
Yeah, so somebody says Hornswoggle on IRL. That would be freaking awesome to have him on IRL. And it just proves that at the end of the day, what they want is to erase everything that they disagree with, even if it's 90% in line with what they want, right? Yeah. This guy can't admit that Disney effed up, because then you're admitting that the corporation that's worked the hardest to make your garbage content made a mistake, and they're not willing to admit that. There's a $20 one there.
From who?
Poppin'
Frogs. He said, don't do drugs, kids. You might become a differently heightened person.
Don't people eventually shrink as they age anyways?
True.
I'm probably shorter. I'm already short, but I'm like shorter from all the years of skating. My spine is probably compressed downward. But yeah, like...
there's a shortage of roles for dwarf actors.
But yeah, so it's just weird that these are debates that we have to have, because they could have just made the movie. They could have made no commentary about it.
Well, the issue with this is that the leftists will say, we listen to the oppressed class on how they want to be treated and how they want to be regarded. And if one of them says something, then they all have to agree with it. But that doesn't take into account that sometimes people in that so-called oppressed class disagree with each other.
Yeah.
So they don't have a hive mind or some monolith, or there's no like president of dwarf actors who decides how they ought to be cast or how they ought to be treated.
Yeah.
But Peter Dinklage wants to be that person, and he's also pulling the ladder up from under him when he got the roles that he wanted.
Yeah. Like Elf.
Yeah, like an elf.
Or I mean, also like Game of Thrones or things where it's not necessarily relevant entirely to his character, right? And the idea, I think the idea that the progressive person who gave that interview is talking about is like they should have roles where them being a dwarf isn't relevant to the story, which is all well and good, but that doesn't mean you also throw the baby out with the bathwater and get rid of the stories that do include it.
Yeah,
you
that's
would
like-
want more inclusion, not less.
Yeah, that doesn't hold up when we bring up like race being considered in casting. You wouldn't cast a white person as MLK.
Well, I mean, Netflix probably would if we wait long enough. Have you ever seen those? It says like, or no, it says Netflix presents Obama and it's Ryan Gosling.
It's just like
Yeah, I saw that.
sometimes, most of the time, how you look is the reason why you get cast in a certain role.
Yeah.
Like Amy Schumer and Margot Robbie. One of them looks like Barbie and one of them doesn't.
What do you think about them being called bandits?
I mean,
It's so weird.
Well, they worked in a mine, like an honest day's work. They didn't steal anything, did they?
No,
Why are
they
they
were
called
like.
bandits?
look, even if the dwarves were villain characters in the story, that's irrelevant.
It doesn't make it bad to make it because that's what the guy's talking about. He goes like, it's stereotypical. I'm like, stereotypical of what? What
Yeah.
the hell
That
are you
people
talking
think
about?
dwarves are
they
criminals?
usually
Like that's
bandits?
not a thing, dude. That's not a thing. You're just quoting like he gets pushed back on, and I will say
I gotta
it's,
look up what
it's
a
not
bandit
like
is.
Piers Morgan stayed neutral. He definitely took like Hornswoggle's side, but it's like whenever they would talk back to
Hornswoggle.
this guy, he would just spout buzzwords and he wouldn't actually push back on what they were saying because he doesn't know what he actually disagrees with it. He just know that he's not supposed to agree with it right now because Piers Morgan doesn't share the same characteristics as the actor. Therefore, he can't have an opinion on this. And that's all part of the culture that says you have to stay in your own lane. You're only allowed to have an opinion on things that directly concern you. You're not allowed to have any
Yeah,
type
he
of
kept
thought else.
bringing up the fact that he's gay, too.
Yes, which
He
has
was
nothing
like,
to do with it.
this is like when gay actors say, you know, until we start getting roles as straight characters, then we are entitled to
Which
have
is
every
bull.
role of a gay character.
Tell that
straight
to
people
Neil Patrick-
shouldn't be allowed to play gay people because gay people haven't been getting any roles as straight people.
Neil Patrick Harris has entered the chat. They're
Dude,
lying.
yeah.
They're lying.
Kevin
It's-
Spacey's entered
Kevin
the chat.
Spacey has entered the chat. There's endless examples of characters that have been straight characters played by gay actors, and that's fine. Nobody cares. It's acting. But in this case, it's actually an impossibility to do this. You should cast these actors to do it, and that gives a lot of people jobs and work. I don't
Yeah.
understand what's controversial about it, other than just like a Jason Aldean song, they woke up and decided that they needed to push back against something. And I'm actually surprised Disney didn't do this from the start. Like, I'm surprised Disney even, went through with this. Have you ever seen the meme about like when they're talking about all the race swapping, and then it shows a picture of Tarzan, and they're like, "I do it, Disney, I dare you." Like Disney is smart enough to not do things that are extremely stupid most of the time, at least with this type of thing. You'd think they would have just prevented themselves from even causing this controversy by either just casting those actors and keeping the promotional material off of that. Focus on Rachel Zegler. You've got plenty of outrage that you can mine by casting Rachel Zegler. Keep the focus there.
Mm-hmm.
Like
She's a raging misandrist.
yes, she is. She's awful. But yeah, I don't know. It's shocking to me because it just seemed like they would have been problematic from the beginning, and they would have never been able to find a way out of it because people are looking for things to be angry about. Not to mention they're not going to do anything with the prince. Just like with Barbie. Barbie's not allowed to have a romance with Ken. In this one, she's not allowed to be romantic with the prince either. She's
So I
got to
guess
save herself.
they changed the prince character in the Snow White story so that he's no longer a prince in this version of it. He's also a bandit, like the dwarves.
Yep, they're.
I sent you a definition of what a bandit is. It's really funny,
Okay, let's
but it makes
see
no sense. It's not synonymous with prince, I'll tell you that.
Banditry is a type of organized crime committed by outlaws, typically involving the threat or use of violence. A person who engages in banditry is known as a bandit and primarily commits crimes such as extortion, robbery, and murder, either as an individual or in groups.
I didn't know
I
bandit.
certainly hope that none of that stuff is going to be in a kid's movie.
I didn't know that banditry was a word. It's like when I heard a butler buttles. It's called buttling.
Is that actually?
Yes, that's a
Wow.
thing. Yeah. So
best.
Do you guys have any interest? I mean, it's not really like, just like with Barbie, we're not exactly the target demographic for this, though it will provide endless content to make fun of Rachel Zegler with and joke about this stuff. But
Also,
it's like,
Piers Morgan tweeted tagging Hugh Grant and said, "Good question. Why did you take that role from a dwarf actor, Hugh Grant?"
did Hugh Grant respond?
No, not yet.
Well, we eagerly await his response on why exactly he would have done that.
It's canceled either way.
Can you think of any movies? Like, are there any movies you can think of that have had actors with dwarfism that you really liked?
Yeah.
I really like Work Days.
Wee Man.
I mean, that I liked. Peter Dinklage was in Nip Tuck. He played a dwarf in that.
Yeah.
All the old Lord of the Rings movies.
Exactly.
The old Willy Wonka is one of my favorite movies.
Austin
they
Powers.
were dwarves there.
Vern Troyer, Mini-Me.
Yeah.
Like that was a cultural moment in time. That's a cultural reference that people still make in boomer TV shows. Mini-Me, which was a very big thing, right?
Little People, Big World.
There you
reality TV show about little people,
Yes.
Big World.
My mom loved.
I watched it.
My mom loved that show.
That was a good show.
Yeah.
And think about that, like in an age where like with as exploitative as reality TV tends to be, like
That show low-key had nothing to do with the fact that they have dwarfism.
No,
It was just family drama.
Yeah.
yeah, like that's actually unbelievably wholesome in comparison
Yeah.
to some of the other stuff that we see from reality TV, which tends to be unbelievably degrading and exploitative of the people that are on those shows. So it's a very, very weird time to be alive. There's a $20 super chat there from Francisco Sanchez Jr.
Hasn't come through yet. Okay, he said, in a real world, a man can play a woman and win swim meets, but in movies, redheads can't exist. Mince me with that sheet. Ice cream, yes.
Yes.
Good point.
Yes. See, that's the thing, Mary. We would have like a million crisis parties if you just said yes every time the chat came through.
I'll try to implement that.
Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.